Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the medium in the middle. This podcast is going to walk you through my journey into mediumship and how I came to realize that I could communicate with souls that have passed over. My adventure started just over a year ago when unusual situations started happening to me. It wasn't until I really started to pay attention to them that it all started to come together. I wrote down everything that I was experiencing this past year in a little black book, and this podcast is going to be a recap of all of those memories leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey. I will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday, and I recommend listening to the podcast in order, starting with episode 1, as my story will unfold more week by week. If you would like to stay connected with me, follow me on Instagram at Medium in the Middle. Hello, Medium in the Middle podcast listeners, MITM listeners. Can we make this a thing? All right. Welcome to episode 17. So I originally had a plan of what I wanted to do for the podcast today. When I started the podcast, I kind of wrote out the first 22 episodes because that's how much content I had. But I want to change up my plan for today. So after today's episode, I'm going to be having 2 more episodes, so one being released on December 10th and one on December 17th. And then I'm going to take a break until January 7th, just over the Christmas holidays while everyone is busy doing holiday things, and come back fresh in the new year. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating and a review if you are using iTunes. I would really appreciate it. In the podcast world, that's kind of how you get found. The more ratings and reviews you have, the more likely you are to show up in search engines, the more likely people are to listen to you. So if you do not mind just scrolling down to the bottom and leaving a rating and review, I would really appreciate it. And I do read them all, so thank you very much. Okay, so I am going to start today's episode with a little story, and then I'm going to get into a Q&A all about Reiki. So today's episode, I want to focus on Reiki because I get a lot of questions about it. And a lot of people don't know what it is, and that's totally normal. I didn't know what it is, as I mentioned before, until I started doing it. And now that I've been doing Reiki for a year and a half, I've learned a lot, and I like to answer people's questions, and I like to educate people, and I like to have conversations about it because I think it's interesting. Obviously, I really like it, and I really like sharing my knowledge with others. So now I'm going to knowledge bomb on you. So before I get into everything you need to know about Reiki, or would want to know, I'm going to share a little story. So as I mentioned, I live in Banff now, but before I moved out west, I didn't live close to my family. I lived about 4 hours away. So when I used to go home, I would Reiki my grandma and my aunt. And the first few times I did it, they didn't really know what I was doing. They would kind of just smile at me and be like, "Good job." That was my attempt at a Lebanese accent. As I did it more often for them, they kind of started to catch on. So the first few times that I did it, we didn't exactly tell my grandma that I was a medium. We decided that she probably wouldn't understand or get it, and at this stage, I don't need my grandma to think I'm any crazier than she already thinks I am for moving away from the family, so we just kind of left it. But over time, things have happened where she's kind of been leaked information. So this can show up where me and my cousins will be at my grandma's house talking about something, and a mediumship story would come up, like one of these episodes that you've probably listened to, and her ears perk up, or she's kind of like, "How do you know that? What do you mean? That person's dead." And it was just like, "Oh, I had a dream," or we're just joking around, or, "Oh, never mind." And we never really wanted to get into it, but there was a few things that happened where after that, my mom kind of tried to explain to her what was going on. And at first she didn't believe it, obviously. She's an 86-year-old woman straight off the boat from Lebanon who goes to church 4 times a week. I didn't expect her to believe it. But Then things started happening where she would start to believe it. She would be like, oh, in that dream that Stephanie had? And she'd kind of wink at me and be like, I know it's not a dream. And I was like, oh, like, Taita, look at you coming around. So one of the things that had happened with her was that my grandpa came to me and he told me that I needed to tell my grandma, we call her Taita, I needed to tell her to stop acting like she was going to die because she's not going to die anytime soon. And he doesn't want to see her. So she better act like she's staying on Earth for a lot longer because she is. And at this time, my grandma had kind of like given up on life. She was tired, she doesn't want to leave the house. She doesn't want to do anything. And she was just waiting to die. So his message really like landed because it made sense. He didn't want her to be waiting around to die. And he wanted to tell her like, enjoy your life. You're going to be here for a while. So you better enjoy it and not just be waiting around. So I really wanted to tell her this message because she would only really listen to it coming from him. So I talked to my mom about it and we decided that we would just tell her that I dreamed this and that Jadu, what we call Grandpa, wanted her to know this message. And she was kind of a little shook about it. She was like, what? What do you mean he told me in the dream? Like, huh? And I was like, yeah, Taita, he told me in a dream and I think it's true, like you can't give up on life. You're going to be here for a while. You're healthy, you're not going anywhere. She was like, oh. So things like that started happening, and there's a few future episodes that you'll hear as well about things happening with people from church and messages needing to be delivered to my grandma's friends and things like that. So she's kind of in the know. So this last time when I went home for a wedding, and before the wedding, I wanted to Reiki my grandma and my aunt because I wanted them to have a good time at the wedding. So I wanted their feet not to hurt. I didn't want them to be tired. I just wanted to like really make sure that they were okay for the wedding because it was a really big deal that they went. So the day before I was kind of prepping them. So I kind of gave them longer sessions where I worked on their feet and their hands and I worked on their head and kind of gave them these full sessions. And again, they're kind of looking at me smiling. My grandma's like, what are you doing? And I would just be like, oh, I'm working. Oh, where'd you learn that from? Oh, Taita, like I took some courses and I've been doing it for a long time. Remember how I told you that people come and see me? Like this is what they come and see me for. Huh. What are you doing now? Why is it getting warm there? Oh, that's how it works. Like, if something hurts, it gets warm. Huh. Who taught you this? And she would just kind of go on and on. I could tell she was kind of getting more into it. I was like, yeah, that's cool. She's asking questions. So the day of the wedding, in between the ceremony and the reception, I wanted to Reiki them again, just to be sure that their feet were going to be okay, and my grandma had pain in her shoulder. So she said, as we were sitting at the kitchen table, I was like, okay, you guys have a little coffee, and I'm just going to Reiki you, and if you don't believe what I'm doing, that's fine, but if you like it, it's okay. And they started to be like, no, we like it. My grandma says, yesterday you fixed my right shoulder and now my left shoulder hurts. So can you do my left shoulder? And I was like, oh, okay. Like, Taita, yeah, I can do your left shoulder. And remember how I told you that I was waking up in the middle of the night with a headache? Well, last night I didn't wake up in the middle of the night with a headache. So that's nice. And I was like, oh yeah, that's good. And then my aunt was like, yeah, my feet feel better, but my ankles hurt. Can you do my ankles? And now they wanted things from me. So it was really interesting. It was, can you fix my shoulder? Can you do my ankle? What about my wrist? Super cute that they felt the effects from the day before and then they came with a whole new laundry list of things that they wanted me to Reiki. This quickly became every time we were alone, they were wanting me to fix something. So when I got home from the wedding, I called my grandma like a week later, and she said, hey, remember how you fixed my right shoulder? And I said, yeah, I Reiki'd your shoulder. And she said, yeah, and remember how it got warm? And I was like, yeah, I remember. And she said, well, I used to wake up because my shoulder hurts in the middle of the night. But now I don't wake up in the middle of the night because my shoulder hurts. And the other day, I put on socks, and it didn't hurt. And whenever I put on socks, it always hurts. You think that had something to do with it? And I was like, maybe, Taita, like that could be. I was just loving every minute of her being about Reiki and kind of believing in it and asking questions about it and liking it. So I'm hijacking this episode because I called her today and she said, "Hey, when you do that thing, what do you whisper?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, when you did that thing to my shoulder, you were whispering something. What do you whisper? And I was like, "Oh, no, Taita, I don't say anything really. I'm like, I might just be mumbling. Or, I don't know, I don't say anything really. There's no prayer that you say, or there's nothing that you're supposed to really say." And I was like, "Why?" And she said, "Oh, well, because I did it on myself." And I was like, "Oh, yeah?" And she was like, "Yeah. So you know how my shoulder hurt? Well, the other one was hurting. So then I did like you did, and I swiped it and swiped it, and I threw it away. Because when I was doing it on her, I click a lot, and I kind of swipe energy away. So I'll if I was doing from your shoulder to your elbow, I kind of wipe down from shoulder to elbow and then flick it off. It's just a thing I do when I'm working on other people. I like to flick off the energy from me. So when I was working on her, I was flicking a lot. So she said, "I did like you did, and I swiped and I swiped and I flicked it away. And I didn't know what you said, so I just said, 'Devil be gone, devil be gone.'" And I was like, "Wow, Taita, you were Reikiing yourself." And she said, "Yeah, I just didn't know what you were saying, so I just said, 'Devil be gone.' And then I just swiped it all away and threw it on the ground. And it made me so happy that she was trying to do it on her own. And then it really got me thinking, if my 87-year-old Lebanese, off the boat, barely can write her name grandma, can come around to knowing about Reiki, wondering about Reiki, and then trying to do it on her own. That was just incredible for me. It was such a big moment that she was doing this. I just couldn't believe it. And she just kind of made up her own thing, and it worked for her. And then she said that the pain went away and it got better. So she said she did it on her shoulder, and then it felt better. So then she tells me, "When I drink the coffee, how my hand shakes?" And I was like, "Yeah, Taita, I know your hand shakes when you drink coffee." And she said, "Because I have a hard time with the cup and putting it up." And I was like, "Uh-huh." And she said, "Well, I decided to do it to my hand." She said, "Because I didn't want it to shake anymore." So she said she swiped it away, threw it on the ground. And she said now her hand doesn't shake when she drinks coffee. I was like, "No way." She's like, "Yep, my hand doesn't shake anymore because I swiped it away." And she said, "I threw it to the ground and now it's gone." And I was like, wow, how incredible. And it was a really big moment for me in the universe that my Lebanese grandma is into Reiki and self-taught herself how to do it. And then I called my mom and I was telling my mom about it. And she was like, "Can she do that? Can she just do it on herself?" And I was like, "Well, technically, yes. I mean, it's life force energy. Everybody has it. And technically, if she believes in it, it really is the power of your will. You really can wish things to be better. And if she saw what I was doing and just redid it and believed that what she was doing was it, then I do believe that, yes." So next time I go home, which isn't for 6 more months, but I do want to attune her to Reiki so that it can fully flow through her. Because if she believes she's doing it, perfect. If it's working for her, that's wonderful. But I really want to open up that channel for her, so I'll attune her next time I see her. I could attune her from a distance, but I want to do this one in person because I really think it's important. And now that I am a master, I can attune people. Speaking of which, let's get into all of the Reiki questions, which will help explain how this all works. Okay, so to start off this portion, I'm going to explain what Reiki is. So Reiki is a form of energy healing that originates in Japan. So Rei translates to universal life, and Ki is energy. So when you put them together, you get life force energy. And Reiki healing uses that energy to heal your body and your mind. So Reiki practitioners, which is what I am, We use touch to manipulate the energy in your body, and then we remove blockages. So what does Reiki entail? So when you have a Reiki session, you lie down on a massage table, you're fully clothed, I put a pillow under your head, sometimes I give you a blanket, and I lay my hands on you in different positions. So there's over your eyes, on your shoulders, on your elbows, on your stomach, on your knees, on your feet, all over your body. There's these different positions. And I place my hands in different positions, and what I'm doing is I'm moving the energy in your body. So some people ask, like, what does it feel like? So it's more than just someone touching your face or your shoulders where you don't feel anything. Some people describe it as they feel a sensation, they feel warmth, they feel cold, they feel pulsing, they feel static. Some people fall into a very meditative state. I've had clients tell me that it's kind of like a meditation. As I move my hands around their body, they're just focusing on where my hands are, and that kind of helps them really, really relax. Sometimes people fall asleep, but not too often. It is a different sensation for everyone, and I always describe it as you'll still feel like you got a massage even though I'm not massaging you. So you know that feeling when you sit up from a massage and you're kind of out of it and your ponytail's on the side of your head and you don't know where your glasses are? It's like that. Another question that I get asked often is if Reiki is religious. And the answer is no. It's not specific to any religion. It doesn't disagree or agree with any religion. It's not a part of any religion, but it is spiritual in nature. So people from all religions can experience the benefits of Reiki. People can do Reiki from all religions. It's not against anything in any religion because everyone kind of believes in energy. You can call it different names, but everyone, for the most part, believes in energy. Everything is energy. You and I are energy. We're full of energy. There's energy all around us. And Reiki is based on the fact that everything is energy. So in my notes, it says that Reiki has nothing to do with religion, but it does adhere to the highest spiritual law, which is unconditional love. Reiki cannot cause harm, and therefore it is risk-free. So now I want to explain how to become a Reiki practitioner, because anyone can do it. The first thing you would do is you would take your level 1, your Reiki level 1 course. It's usually a 1 to 2 day course, depending on how they split up the hours. And in this course, you learn how to do Reiki on yourself. So the main focus of this course is learning your chakras, so your 7 chakras, learning the hand positionings of how to do a self-healing. So there's your head, your neck, your eyes, your throat, your heart. There's 2 spots on your stomach, your root, and then how to clear. You also can practice on plants and animals, is what they tell you. So after level 1, you are clear to work on yourself and plants and animals, and you are encouraged to practice as much as you can, as often as you can. So kind of the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it, the more you'll understand the feeling, the more you'll get in touch with it. And you're given 4 attunements in your level 1, or you should be given 4 attunements in your level 1. So my Reiki master, who I did my master's with the second time, has been doing Reiki for over 20 years, and she is 5 teachers away from Takata. So I just want to take a moment here and give you very brief Reiki history and explain why it's very important to me that my Reiki master was 5 teachers away from the original teachings. So Madame Takata brought Reiki from Japan to the West in 1938. So this isn't very long ago. So until 1982, Reiki was an oral tradition in the West with no written records of its history or teachings. So I like to explain it to people that Reiki has been around for a very long time, but they were teaching it to people orally. Nothing was written down. It was all from the original teachers passed on to very select few people. And now we're in a world where more and more people can share it. So Madame Takata was one of the original teachers of Reiki. So my master teacher was 5 teachers away from her, which makes me 6 teachers away from the original teachings. So I was taught in a very traditional way. In the way that I was taught, level 1, you receive 4 attunements. So an attunement is essentially opening you up to the Reiki energy life force. So the life force energy, you are being connected to it. This was explained to me by opening up your crown chakra. So the top of your head is your crown, and we're opening it up to the Reiki energy so that it can flow through you to get to others. A very big part of Reiki is that you are not doing anything. You are just the vessel of the energy to flow through you to get to another person, to get to yourself, to get to the plant, the animal, whatever you are Reiki. So a very big teaching in level 1 is that the Reiki practitioner is not the healer, but only the conduit. The practitioner must be willing to get out of the way and let go of the outcome. So you kind of have to give up everything that you want to happen and let the Reiki energy take the wheel. So that's why in a lot of my sessions, I kind of explain that you might come in with a certain agenda of what you want to accomplish today or what you want to work on, but your body might be needing something completely different. And I work with the highest priority of what your body needs, not necessarily with what you think you need. So Reiki originated in Tibet, actually, in the early 1800s by Dr. Usui. So he was a Japanese educator, and he was the one who he started to spread the word about it. So Dr. Usui came to witness many healings from Reiki, and later he met Dr. Hayashi. So together, the two of them were teaching Reiki, and they opened a clinic in Tokyo. Prior to them passing away, they shared the leadership of Reiki with Madame Takada. So she was one of the original teachers who was then meant to spread the word of Reiki and teach as many people as she could. So that's my brief history lesson. I won't get any deeper. If you want to know more, take your level 1, and we will tell you all about how it happened. So after your level 1, it is recommended that you practice Reiki as much as you can for 3 to 6 months. You can take up to a year. After that point, you are ready to take your Reiki level 2. So they say to take your Reiki level 2, you should be practicing Reiki almost daily. You feel comfortable with the energy, and then you take your level 2 course. Your level 2 course is, again, 1 long day or 2 short days, depending on how the teacher splits it up. And in this course, it's when you are taught how to do Reiki on other people. So you're taught the positions of what you do when you're doing Reiki on another person instead of your self-healing. In this course, you are also given the Reiki symbols. So you're not given the Reiki symbols in level 1, and you're not discussing how to work on another person in level 1. Level 1 is just meant for self-healing. Level 2 is meant for now you can work on other people. So in your level 2, you will be given 3 more attunements. In these attunements, you are given the symbols, and then you work and practice with them. It is then recommended that you work on others and you are practicing Reiki practitioner for 1 to 2 years before you do your Reiki master's course. So my master says that she must approve her student to become a master, because if she doesn't see your work and see what you're doing and your commitment, then she's not going to attune you to your masters. So to be a master teacher means that you can teach Reiki. So you are taught how to do the attunements, you are taught how to do the courses, you are taught about how to teach others Reiki. So my Reiki master has only attuned 6 masters in her 20 years of Reiki. She's done many, many level 1s and 2s, but the Reiki master teacher to only 6 people, which I thought was a pretty big deal because I didn't know that before she did it for me. So an interesting fact that I like to tell people is that back in the day, so when my master was getting her master's, she said that the master teacher class was costing $10,000, which seems crazy, but she said it was $10,000 because they wanted to make sure that if you were doing it, you were taking it seriously, you were doing it with the right intentions, you were doing it because you wanted to help others. It wasn't ego-based, it wasn't to rip people off or scam people, but you were coming with pure intentions. So they made it very expensive so that only a select few could become masters and teach it. You had to really be true in your cause. So that has since changed. Some places do still charge $10,000 to get your master's. There are like minimums that some people will charge. And I believe that it should be a big enough amount of money where you take it seriously. There shouldn't just be lots of masters walking around all willy-nilly. They paid $200 for a weekend course. I think it should be enough money that you take it seriously and that you are doing it with the right intentions. You're doing it because you're ready. You're doing it because you want to teach, and you're doing it because you want to help others, not just to make money or out of ego to say that you're a Reiki master teacher. So how much do the courses cost? Level 1 and level 2 will cost you between $150 to $300 each, depending on who you do it with, how long it takes, where it is. Your level 3, if you get there, will cost at least $900, I would say, if you're doing it with anyone legitimate. I would definitely recommend not doing these close together and quickly. I've had a lot of people say, okay, how quickly can I become a master? And that's not the point. The point is to do your level 1, practice, practice, practice. Do your level 2, practice, 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 practice for years. And then do your masters. And I definitely want people to go down this path and learn, but I want everyone to understand how much practice you should be doing and how it's not just how quickly can I get to the finish line. It's what you're learning in between the courses that are such a big deal. And it's really nice as well when you do your second level course and your third level course, you can bring experiences that you had with clients and you can discuss and share with other people who may also have had those same experiences. So just on the moving too quickly page, I want to share kind of my story into my master's. So I did my level 1, and then I believe it was 3 months later I did my level 2. And it actually happened that my level 2 was scheduled too close to my level 1, and my Reiki master Lois was trying to say that she needed to move it because we weren't within 21 days. So after each attunement, your chakras reset 3 times. So you have 7 chakras, they each reset 3 times. So for 21 days, you're in this big transitioning, big opening up, lots of changes. You feel off, you feel weird. And then on the 21 days, everything clicks back together and you kind of come back out of the blur. So she said you at minimum need 21 days between level 1 and level 2, but it should be a few months. So ours just happened to be scheduled at 19 days, and she was so upset she didn't want to do it. She wanted to change the date, and the venue couldn't change the date. So it's the day of the level 2, and there was a huge ice storm. And the level 2 had to be canceled and rescheduled for 6 weeks later. So when we showed up to the second one, my Reiki master Lois was very happy because she said this was the way it was supposed to be. It was too close together before. So I was then knowing that I was going to be moving across the country, and I really wanted to do my Reiki masters with Lois. I was very connected to her. We had this deep, just our souls have known each other for a long time. And I knew how important it was that I learned from the original teachings, and I really liked how she told me how things were supposed to be done and how she taught me and how the sheets that she gave me were photocopies that she's been using since 1998. Like, she's using the exact same information, and it was just pure, and I could tell her intent was in the right spot. So I really wanted to do my master's with her before I moved to Banff, but it just didn't work out. It was too soon. It was too quick. So when I moved to Banff, I met someone new, and she was running a master's course, and she is a channeler. And I am going to invite her to the podcast because she's so interesting in what she does, and I think it would be a really, really good interview to have her on. So we will talk about her more in the future, but she was a channeler. So when I moved to Banff, everybody told me that she did the same thing that I did, mediumship. So I ended up doing her Reiki Master's course. I was very, very eager and in a rush to get the Reiki Master symbol. So now that I know kind of what's happening, I wanted the Master symbol. I wanted to be able to do Reiki quicker. I just wanted to know everything there was to know about Reiki. Right now, not tomorrow, right now. So I did the course, got the symbol, felt great, didn't use the symbol for a year. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to use the symbol. I wasn't ready to teach Reiki. I did it way too quick. I realized that I was doing it out of ego. I was doing it because I didn't have enough patience to wait until I was ready, and I had this Reiki Master symbol that I couldn't even use. Fast forward to this year, when I treated myself for my 30th birthday to doing my Reiki Masters with Lois, investing the time, investing the money, flying back to Ontario, renting a car, staying with a friend, doing everything I had to do to learn from my original teacher when the time was right, when I was ready, and then I immediately started using the symbol afterwards because it had been the appropriate amount of time and I was ready to take on the master teacher role in my life and where I was in my Reiki journey. So that is my Reiki journey. One other question that I wanted to cover was, why is Reiki not covered by insurance the way massage is? My hope and dream and prayer, and if anything comes out of this podcast, this could be it, dear universe, please, I wish that Reiki could be grouped together with massage to cover for benefits. I ask for nothing more. If you get $500 a year, I ask that it could be for massage or Reiki because it is so incredible and people need it. Not only do you need your physical body adjusted, you need your spiritual and mental body adjusted as well. And energy is becoming such a big thing that people are talking about nowadays. I would love if Reiki was more accessible because I totally understand that people don't have extra money for extra treatments in their life. But if it was covered to support their mental health and their well-being, I just think it would be incredible. And it wouldn't cost you any more, insurance companies, if you're listening. I just think you could loop it together with massage or Reiki because I think they're both very, very important for the human body. But in my research of trying to make Reiki covered by insurance, as my hope and dreams, what I've discovered is that it's not covered because how you learn Reiki is not regulated. So technically, anybody can write you a certificate saying that you are a Reiki master, Reiki level 1, Reiki level 2. There are no standards. There's no minimum requirement of hours. There's no regulation in the industry because it's just people teaching other people. So first, I would guess that we need to create some kind of regulation. Then we need to have people standardize these regulations. Then they need to be worldwide. There are many steps to take. And I really, truly hope that I can see these steps being taken in my life. And I'm hoping that this podcast makes Reiki more accessible and makes Reiki more talked about and just put it into the minds of more people. Because that's how change happens. Okay, I'm going to stop ranting about Reiki for now. I will do many more of these episodes as more questions come up because people are always asking me and I'm happy to answer all and every question about Reiki. No question is a stupid question. It's not dumb to ask if energy is everywhere. What is Reiki? I don't get it. These are totally normal questions. No question is a stupid question, and I love when people ask me about it. So please send me a message, DM me if you want to know anything. I'm happy to help. Okay, so the next 2 episodes that I have before the end of the year are 2 more experiences that happened. They are 2 big ones. I'm very excited for the next 2 podcasts. They are awesome. We're going to end on a bang. You're not going to want to miss it. And then you're going to have 3 weeks to catch up on the podcast if you haven't already. We're going to be at 17, 18, 19. We're going to be at episode 19. Whoa. So again, thank you for listening. I appreciate it so much. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle. Again, leave a comment, leave a review. We love that. Again, thank you for listening. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.